Dynamite download.
AEW 2020, John Silver.
Special event, as you can see, SPD.
For a splashing good time. January recruitment month.
I come along, I come along in the ring.
I would not want to. I would not want to.
Welcome to Dynamite Download.
Hey guys, welcome to Dynamite.
Yeah, baby.
I'm filling in for SPD again. This is Booking by Bonds. I'm joined by Crayfish. We had a huge show tonight. I think that it started off really hot, and I kind of want to follow that lead. We're not going to have a match card tonight, but we're going to go straight into it because I think this was one of the most consistent and top shows of the year so far. Your thoughts on it, Crayfish? What were your thoughts on that first match starting off the show?
Well, Bonds, I mean, for me, I'm excited that you're the fill-in of the beginning part of this show. I love talking Dynamite Download with SPD every week, but for us to start off with Team Taz, the team that everybody thought was left for dead. Everyone's looking at them thinking that they're going to start crumbling, us included. We were just talking about the demise of Team Taz.
We thought it was over.
And the machine goes out there and absolutely, I mean, Bonds, I get it. Team Taz, they got that sneak attack in before the match. You know, the Dark Order had Hangman Page's back. Thank God that Hangman Page joined the Dark Order. Thank God he joined the Dark Order. But Cage with that power bomb on the ramp set the tone for this Dynamite. I mean, I know I wasn't alone. I got on Twitter right away. Just boom, what a start to the freaking show, man.
Oh, yeah.
A power bomb onto the ramp. And it was so, like, it's not just any old power bomb. That's the machine, Brian Cage, laying you out on the entrance ramp. So that one you knew was going to have some after effects in the match. But, I mean, come on, man. Hangman Page is our number one contender. Everyone, saw what he did last week to Team Taz member, the fellow Team Taz member, Ricky Starks. We know what Hangman Page is capable of. We know what Hangman Page has done to earn that number one contendership. And all of us are all kind of just waiting for the shoe to drop when he's going to eventually face Kenny Omega. But big upset tonight with Brian Cage coming out on top. And Bonds, you had to just be salivating watching this match because it wasn't just any old victory. It wasn't a surprise upset. No. Brian Cage absolutely manhandled the number one contender.
Squash match.
He absolutely manhandled him.
Yeah. The number one contender lost in a squash. Like, that's awesome. That's insane. Like, I
when does that happen?
Thought of that happening before the show. When this match was on the card, I was like, oh man, like, what's going to happen tonight? I thought this could be like the beginning of the end for Team Taz, especially with Starks being promoted, being ringside. And ultimately, Brian Cage just shut everybody up and looked dominant.
Dominant. Man, did he? It was unbelievable. I mean, in the way that Cage, I know that I'm not alone. I mark out every single time that Brian Cage catches someone in middle of the air somehow, in some different position, and just shows off his pure power by either suplexing them or fireman's carry. The man is. I always try to emphasize there are a lot of strong people. I'm a wrestling fan. I get it. Right. I'm just a fat mark. But there are a lot of strong athletes in professional wrestling. Then there are guys who are powerful.
There's a difference.
And there's a difference. Cage has raw power. What's so important to respect there about that is he can do moves like the drill claw that you'd have to, trust your life with somebody to do. And the guy makes it look effortless. He is just an absolute machine. I was blown away by this match. Not very often you see Hangman Page get tossed around like he did tonight. I think that the after effects of this match really get me stumbling back, Bonds. I feel like, I'm in a boxing match and AEW threw a couple punches at me like Anthony Ogogo.
Oh yeah.
I'm crippled over. I don't know where it goes from here because, I was starting to try to wrap my head around how do you book Kenny versus Hangman? What do you do there?
And
then I started thinking like you. I mean, I know you are the biggest. All of us have our own crews in this group, right? I mean, I know that SPD, he loves him some Lance Archer. He loves the Inner Circle. You are the Team Taz guy. And even you started to sound defeated in your column where like, all right, I guess they're going to break up. These guys have so much potential, but I guess they're going to break up. You had to just be really geeking out over how this went, dude. Knowing this was a huge win for Cage, how do you see this impacting Team Taz going forward? And where do you see the number one contender? We're going to just real quick, Bonds, booking by Bonds, mini segment here before we transition into the next match. Which topic sounds more interesting to you? You want to talk to me about the after effects of Team Taz or what this means as far as the number one contender status in AEW? Because later on tonight, Orange Cassidy, the number 2 contender, came up with a big win in perhaps the match of the night, honestly, on a stacked show. Which topic will you touch on real quick, and then we'll jump into the next match?
Well, I'd like to talk about the future of Team Taz, though I do think this is more the future of Brian Cage. I think we can leave the number one contendership till later in the show because Orange Cassidy is, we're going to talk about Orange Cassidy in a little bit. But I think this is bigger for Brian Cage in general. He kind of set himself apart. Everybody in Team Taz has been losing, and he went out there and beat the number one contender without breaking a sweat. I think I counted 2 offensive comebacks from Hangman the whole match.
Again, man, without breaking a sweat, dude. Damn.
Yeah, so I think that this is kind of, and we saw Taz later in the show with Christian, and it still seems like there's some downswing for Team Taz, but for Cage, I mean, man, he looked like the Machine tonight. He looked like himself. He looked like he's not being held down by anybody. And it was all him. There was no interference in the match. Like he went out there and did that himself. And yeah, he attacked Hangman before the match started, but that's not something that he needed anybody else around for. He could have done it himself as well. So regardless, I think that Cage is setting himself up to be the guy here in Team Taz, obviously, for now. Obviously, we all love Ricky Starks and Will Hobbs as well. But, I think that Brian Cage was like, hey, man, I'm not going to lose tonight. I'm going to show that I'm on that level. I can go out there and beat the number one contender and be a top bill guy. And he went out there and did that.
I mean, and you've been saying it from day one since you joined Team Dynamite Download. Guys, this is a former Impact heavyweight champion. Guys, this is a guy that Tony Khan said was a Mount Rushmore guy for him to sign in AEW. Tony's a personal fan of his body of work, and the more you watch Brian Cage in action, whether it's tag matches, cinematic matches, whether as a heel or a babyface, Brian Cage really doesn't get the credit that he deserves as just an all-around entertaining performer who really is easy for a casual fan to get behind just because he has the size and the speed and all that stuff. But even as a diehard wrestling fan, as somebody who loves the sport of pro wrestling, this guy is not just a big guy. He does it all. And it's cool to see an upset win like that. It's cool to see him get that kind of notch in his cap. That said, there were no upset wins in this tag match. The Young Bucks it was a brothers versus brothers match, man. And there were points when it felt like the Seidel brothers were going to get some of their offense in. Certainly when you add those type of athletes in the ring with the Young Bucks, there's going to be a lot of moments where you're trying to just see all the captivating things that these two sets of brothers can do together. Absolutely amazing to see what chemistry can do, what a difference that can play in a match. really entertaining matchup, but at no point in time did I ever feel like this was going to be an upset, right? But the Young Bucks are just absolutely on a roll, Bonds. I know that there's a lot of conversation on who's going to beat Darby, who's going to beat Sheeta, when does Britt beat Sheeta? There's nobody really talking about when are the Bucks going to lose the tag titles, and I think that that's pretty evident as to why when you watch a match like tonight. No, I mean they were clicking on all cylinders. The gear, the absolutely over the top, like walking out. I mean, they are just, that they are just loving this, bro. Like they are loving, like just strutting the strut, being just over the top, cheesy heels. You could see it. They are just enjoying themselves. You know what I mean?
Oh yeah, man.
It's good to see the streamers back.
Oh, dude. Every week they come out with new gear. Every week they come out looking more and more ridiculous.
More and more stupid.
Yeah, they look dumber every week, and it's awesome. And they know it. And it's hilarious.
Trolling us so bad.
Today, like, Carl Anderson had no pants on in their backstage promo. Like, for some reason, like, he was he was in a limo with 6 dudes and like cramped in this little limo.
As Santana said, as Santana said, nuts to butts. That they were nuts to butts in the limo. Like you just pointed it out. It was a pretty tight fit.
That was like, I would not want to pay for that limo. It was very small inside. Very
as Don said, man, nothing better than 6 dudes in a limo. Just
6 dudes really cramped in a limo. It was great. But like back to the match, they brought that same energy in the ring.
Yeah.
I'd like to give Matt. I thought Matt Sydal looked like $1 million tonight, though.
Dude, SPD loves Matt Sydal.
He's great, man, and I think that this is a match I'd like to see again. These guys have great chemistry. Obviously, they're 2 sets of brothers, so you can't get better chemistry than that for for tandem wrestling. It's just it's built into their DNA.
Correct. Yeah.
And so I think tonight, just generally, they really brought it. Like I said, I thought Matt Sydal looked awesome. He got the brunt of some of the dirty tactics from the Bucks, and obviously Mike got that little shot at the end there.
So good, especially with Mortal Kombat coming out. Like
finished.
I want to see Johnny Cage out there. That was fantastic. Nice work.
Dude, that was such a funny ending. I was wondering, I was like, oh man, like this is a great match. I wonder how it's going to end. And it was just the nut shot of doom got that match over.
I know. That was a great one. The smile into the camera. Oh,
yeah, he was like,
good.
Sorry.
Whoopsies. Whoopsie.
Matt Jackson is becoming one of the funniest people on TV. I think every
I'm
week.
Not alone in thinking that. Yeah,
he's great. There's just some his mannerisms and his what he does with his face, where he just distorts himself and makes himself look ridiculous. He's just so funny, man.
I agree.
And I think that him and Nick do a great job of bringing out the anger in their opponents and kind of using it against them. And then it looks like, oh man, Young Bucks lost that one right there. And then it's like, oh wait, no, they are just egging them into something and bringing them into something. And it's smart and it's clever. And I think they do a great job at that.
I agree. But I will say there were moments when Matt Sydal, you could see the veteran presence that Matt Sydal had. Dude, he was able to roll with the punches, all the mind games that you just talked about that the Young Bucks try to play on their opponents. You could tell Matt was certainly going toe to toe with them throughout this match. I think that this was it's not a coincidence that I say this. I think that the Bucks get a lot of hate, but they bring out the best in a lot of teams, man. And this is one of the best performances that I've seen out of the Sydal brothers as a duo. And I think that Matt Sydal, obviously, he looked great in his match against Kenny Omega in a singles match. But this was an excellent showing for him too tonight. So for me, I'm really thinking, the Young Bucks get a lot of hate, right? But you think
elevate everybody.
They elevate so many people, bro. And you look at Top Flight, the Acclaimed, you look at a lot of these teams that are making names off of the Young Bucks' backs. It's no wonder why they are the champs, why they are in the elite, dude. When you could roll with Kenny Omega you're doing something right. Kenny, Cody, I mean, like, I think that they're doing okay. And right now, their Twitter game is on point too, bro. I love how they change their bio
every day,
and it's just trolling us harder and harder and harder. It was great. All around, man. I think that this is what was cool, man. Like, the show starts, usually SPD and we love when the show starts with the Young Bucks, man. Those guys bring an energy. They like you just said, they elevate their opponents. So they raise the bar. They set the bar really high right from the beginning of the show. But I love how AEW started the show, man. Big upset win out of Brian Cage really sends shockwaves throughout the AEW community, right?
Oh, yeah.
Had Twitter buzzing, right?
I don't think anybody expected that.
You piggyback off that with the Young Bucks versus Seidel brothers, and again, the Bucks are on another level right now. And then you roll into Orange Cassidy. Now you're potentially number one contender after Hangman loses. So you have Orange Cassidy, your number two contender, going against Penta, who had a big win last week, and who, anybody who watches Penta's work, they get it. They get it. And they know that if at any moment AEW was like, all right, we're pushing Penta to we're going to push him to another level. Anybody who watches this dude, anybody who watches the Lucha Bros, anybody who's down with the Death Triangle like I am, baby,
as you should be,
you know that, like, all right, sign me up right then and there, bro. I mean, like, if they said next week Penta was going to get a TNT title match against Darby and he beat him, I don't think anybody would be complaining. Like, everybody loves Penta when you watch this dude work. His chops are on another level. His submissions, he's so dirty, dude. He's so nasty when he just manipulates the arm. You could tell, and that little battle that he and Orange Cassidy had tonight was really fun. When he was trying to get him into the armbar and Orange Cassidy kept sliding his hand towards his pocket. I know I wasn't the only one that was loving the character work off between these two guys. Penta has that Sierra Mero. I butchered that. Sorry, I'm not. I wish SPD was here to roll the R's. Hey!
There he is. Speak of the devil.
Thank you, baby.
Yeah, but it's not as good as the Ray Phoenix Stars, though.
Keep it going.
Ray Phoenix.
Wow.
Oh,
that was your best one yet, baby. Wow, was that good? So SPD, we were just chatting about our crew, man. My crew, Death Triangle. We all have our own groups in this, but I know, dude, you are with me when you say Penta at any moment could break through to another level. That guy is he brings it week in, week out. I love his Batman look last week. I loved his
Samurai was awesome this week.
Samurai, angry. Yeah, that was a sweet look. And dude, this stuff with Alex is hilarious. Alex really is quickly becoming incredible talent on screen for AEW, and he's making Penta to be so much more approachable and funny. It makes his matches more of a spectacle. What did you think about this match, Bonds, as far as the number two, potentially number one contender going toe-to-toe with Penta after Penta's big win last week, and how this match ended? Because it really was, Penta looked like he was in control. I mean, he almost hit that cradle pile driver, and then they had that microphone popped him right in the head. Orange Cassidy getting that big shot at the end. So this was a match where both these guys were very much presented as equals, which I was happy to see because I love both guys and they're very different. But what were your thoughts on this match, Bonds?
So this was probably my favorite match of the night. Frankly, bro. I think that this is this was a great back and forth between two guys who are very interesting characters. And they were able to kind of feed off each other the entire time. And it made for a really entertaining, just outside of the match itself. These guys it seemed like 5 minutes before the match started, they were messing with each other before the match. And it was entertaining. I didn't want it to stop. I was like, okay, man, I'm cool with these guys going at it. This is funny. They're able to really get the most. Again, this another example of these guys getting the most out of each other. I think that all of us are kind of back and forth on Orange Cassidy, but tonight, like, this was the perfect example of what he's great at, able to kind of troll his opponent. And these are the ultimate trolls back and forth. You know, Penta's a great troll too, especially lately with Alex. He's been awesome. And going back to your other point, man, go back to your other point, like, now that Hangman lost that opening match, that made this match a lot more like important and interesting.
Right? Yeah.
Because if Hangman would have won, this match would have been a great win for Orange Cassidy, obviously. But the fact that Hangman lost, and now, you know, Penta's always a top guy, especially somebody who's hot right now as well. So Orange beats a hot contender himself, and then Hangman also loses, and we're all prisoners of the moment. So that could easily push up Orange into that next spot, in that top spot.
And what a perfect challenger for Kenny, right? I mean, Kenny being an ultimate heel, Orange Cassidy being truly one of the most like over baby faces in AEW, really like a genuine homegrown baby face that that all of us root for, like, across the board. And Orange Cassidy could get like, and you know, SPD Kenny could do some damage on Orange, right? But Orange Cassidy is not, his character is basically bulletproof, man. Like, even if he loses to Kenny, it's not, I mean, that's a win for him, right? That makes,
he was in that match is huge.
Yeah, if he can push Kenny Omega to his limits at some point, that's definitely a big thing for Orange Cassidy. That's just as much, you know what I mean? Like, yeah. So I think that it's a win-win. You and I have talked a lot about on this show. Sometimes you feel like, oh man, if they booked it Hangman versus Kenny, they would book themselves into a corner where Hangman feels like he can't afford that loss, and Kenny's not going to lose the title. If Orange gets that match, it's a fun matchup. It's certainly a nice break, I think, away from how intense and the blood feud of Jon Moxley was for Kenny. I think that would be a nice, like, breather kind of main event championship match that could then tide him over to maybe he faces Miro, maybe he faces Hangman down the road. But I don't see Kenny losing his title anytime soon. But Orange Cassidy feels like the number one contender now after tonight. He's gonna get a shot.
I mean, I wasn't ready for Hangman to face Kenny just because I want more of a Hangman run and I want more of a build. You know, he took this full year to build himself to the top and establish him as a, you know, kind of a good direction, you know, not necessarily lost person. And it's been fun to watch for sure. So to have that convincing loss, you know, earlier in the show, I mean, convincing win by Brian Cage ultimately, and then kind of have him pivot towards something else for the time being, because I would want the Hangman Kenny saga near the decline of Kenny's run. Not necessarily. He's still climbing to the peak.
He just won another title.
He's not even at half elevation up, man. I mean,
go ahead.
I can't.
He's like not even halfway there, right?
Right. So I think it makes sense to have these unconvincing champions that could steal the title from him for now. You know, just kind of be fluff. I mean, I think we still see a heavy feud with the Mox, obviously, in Kingston, but. You know, Orange, we've talked about it on Friday Night Fights of Fights. You know, Orange Cassidy kind of fizzled out after his Jericho feud. You know, he was built so high, and now he was just kind of like done nothing. It's surprising how high he's ranked with how little he's wrestled in 2021. He has a very, very little bit time in the ring. I thought they'd be more steered towards, you know, the best friends trio and trio matches and tag matches, thing like that. But it was nice to see this match. I loved it. The physicality, the pacing of it was really fun to watch. Penta's pacing in matches in general are always the spot on. You know, I was a Penta fan before I'm a Ray fan, and because of the chops probably was the main reason. But I love his pacing. Even just like, it's so annoying, you know, for some people just taking off the glove and then just right in the face.
Yeah, it's awesome, dude. That's freaking great.
So, like, I talked about pacing last week with Willie Hobbs. Powerhouse Hobbs, and I thought he did such a veteran pacing match with Christian Cage. He did so well, and I'm all for that. I think that really helps tell the story, and it made this match that much more meaningful and that much bigger win to me for Orange Cassidy.
Well said.
So, well, I'm going to transition.
Well said.
After that, thank you very much. I appreciate it. I had some time to think about it.
That's true. You showed up late.
You're hey, working man for the weekend. The DMD cut a quick, simple promo. She's been doing these promos, the past few weeks, and they've been very, very effective. Saying she's the top of the demos, top merch sale, and now the top contender. Look at these rankings. This whole time, Tony's face was cracking me up, and how he went along with the DMD. So this was great promo, and we all know. The writing is in the sand. It's in the stars. DMD.
It's in something way more permanent than sand, SPD. This thing is, baby, carved out of granite, baby.
Yeah, you're right.
Yeah, it's sand, bro. DMD is going to be the champ soon, baby. Carve those initials into granite, baby. DMD is going to be champ. And
you are right.
I think it's hilarious because this promo again tonight, Britt is like an instant T-shirt. Everything she says gets on a freaking shirt. Sale. Sheeta later is going to be on one of my new shirts that I'm going to get soon, I'm pretty sure. How funny is it that my wife for my birthday bought me a Britt Baker shirt? That's how much she knows that I love myself some DMD coming up this weekend, by the way. But, dude, DMD absolutely slays on the mic, bro. I mean, just the fact that she's rubbing it in our faces about the rankings alone. For those of us who have been paying attention, this woman has been slamming the ranking system for a long time, bro. So, I love what she's doing. She's absolutely gold every single time that she's on screen, man. She absolutely crushes it. I cannot wait. I cannot wait for the promos that Britt's going to cut when she tells everybody how she beat the longest reigning champion in AEW history, baby. Britt Baker, DMD is more important than AEW, and she said it a long time ago, and she's going to be able to rub everyone's faces in it. And I think that that's going to set ourselves up for another SPD. I know you're grinning ear to ear every time we talk Kenny Omega. It's going to make me – I'm going to be cheesing so freaking hard when I see Britt Baker with a long title run like Kenny Omega has with the men's championship. Britt is setting – I think that Britt – has a nice long run until till winter time, and we start to then talk about who are some contenders that emerge from outside of AEW. I think that Jade Cargill is obviously she's got her eyes on Britt right now. Jade and Dynamite Download had a little Twitter interaction tonight, which was great. Thanks, Jade. But I feel like it's going to eventually lead to Britt beating Sheeta, having a summer of just pure joy for Team Dynamite Download. Your boy Crayfish is going to be geeking out. I know there are so many DMD fans out there that are just pounding the desk like we are. Give us what we want. We want Britt as the champ, Bonds. Help me get through this agonizing period where we know that the writing is in granite, SPD. Britt's going to be the champ. I know. Tell me, Bonds, help me get to that point because it feels like it's been forever, dude. Like, just put the belt on her already. I'm dying here, man.
Like the only way to make you calm down about this, we have to cryo freeze you until Britt wins the title. I legit think that'd be like the best approach.
I'll do like a Han Solo, and you guys can just put me in.
You need to come out like Brand Color did and start spraying down the crayfish.
Oh yeah, we'll spray down
pull them off.
Pull them off, baby.
Oh man, but Britt's been killing it. Like you said, there's no way around it. She's the top talker in the division. But I don't think it's close. And she's ready for the belt. It's time. I don't think that there's any more. We can't wait anymore. It's time. Have that match as soon as possible. Yeah. It's going to be on pay-per-view, I'm assuming. That's
shut up and take my money, baby. Take my money.
So, but just get that going. Start the feud up. I'd like to see some stuff before. I'd like to see that start happening.
Britt's poking it now, bro.
For sure. Yeah. But I want to
poking the bear.
Because I obviously the more Britt's on TV, the better. Especially leading up to a potential title. And she's entertaining as hell. So you just have that just top. The more you get her on TV, the better. And I think Sheeta again needs to be on TV more. Still,
SPD, you've been saying that from day one, right?
So
like the women's champion needs to be represented, and I think Bonds, you put those 2 points that you made together, And all of a sudden it's like, oh, 1 + 1 = 2. It's like, okay,
Easy.
you have Britt Baker, who is on television all the time, and every time, whether it's Dark, Elevation, Dynamite, she's money. And then you have a dire need for your women's champion to be represented more frequently on the show. Well, hello. Hello, right? So I think that, like, we have to be understanding. Shida, after her match against Ty Conti, we all agree that match was badass, right? I mean, that
awesome.
match was absolutely freaking great. So it's just, given COVID, given this what we're going through, you have somebody in Shida. I mean, like, you have to be mindful of the travel and all those types of things. Honestly, I understand putting the title why Shida hasn't defended it so much, but that doesn't change the fact that they need to transition the title. They need that belt represented on the show. They
either have to have Shida on the show more or take the belt off her.
Right.
There's two ways to do it.
That's absolutely correct, man. And I was fired up about this segment. We're going to talk about my favorite segment of the night. There was some pretty great segments throughout the show. When you talk about the limo segment, the backstage with Taz and Cage, the Moxley, Eddie and Moxley segment, and then the Miro segment too. But this one by far, man, I was absolutely grinning ear to ear, laughing out loud.
Oh yeah,
it was
baby.
So great. But I mean, more importantly, we found out more details of the match. The parlay is 2 rings, 1 giant cage. Also, it's not the only match of the show, which is next week is a pay-per-view worthy card, which we'll run through next week. And I thought, Eddie Kingston and Jon Moxley asked for that match. Like, okay, we'll get it next week. I was like, all right, maybe they accidentally flubbed and they'll just do that. Then they added another match, and then another match, and then another match, and then this match. So I think we have 5 total matches. And
how long's the show?
A pay-per-view quality match.
It's going to be a normal Dynamite length.
You almost
okay.
You almost wish this had more time. I'm sure it'll get like an hour. So we have 2 rings, 1 giant cage, and 5 minutes on one-on-one, and every 2 minutes another member will come in, and you either have to submit or surrender. That's the only way to win. And
that feels like an hour match, bro. I mean,
it has to be. And we were talking like this could have been. I thought they teased that this was going to be the only match on the show, but clearly it's not. It could have been. And what I really loved about this segment, man, is that it's everything you ever wanted in like watching our stars, because everyone shined. Everyone proved why they were top guys. Every single person, all 11 guys, including Tully, showed. When Spears started and grabbed the mic, his camera time, him on the mic was great. And I loved how he said he's going to step on Sammy's head while he's drowning. And then Sammy comes back and he's going to step up. He's going to be he's true. We haven't seen him in a match in a long time. He's going to be the first one to come out.
And that Sammy and Sean Spears moment was pretty tense. I mean, there were a lot of moments in this promo battle, SPD, where you're like, wow, like these guys are not pulling punches, man. Like they're going at each other, and like they're not. There's none of that reservation in their words, so there's nothing for us to believe that they're going to hold anything back when it comes to the physicality in the ring, bro. I mean, all the segments to this point have been absolutely fire. And I mean, yes, you're right, and I have to give you respect for not just becoming a total fanboy, because if it were me and somehow Pac cut a promo like that, I would have just been like, oh my God, Pac. But props to you for giving everybody in this segment their just due. Now,
everyone. Who's your favorite though?
Can you fast forward the button a little bit to the part where you tell us all how amazing Chris Jericho is? Okay.
No, I texted you guys, and I mean,
dude,
everyone. Obviously, I want to know your guys' favorite. Who stood out the most to you? Santana. I don't know if you guys caught it, but he would not stop staring at FTR. Even after his segment and everything, he looked scary as F, man. Everyone else is fired, and he was just crossed like the whole time. Dax would like turn, he's still staring the whole time. I'm like, oh my gosh, I'd be like so nervous if I was on the opposite side. He's like, we've been locked up. You haven't been locked up. And that was so great. He's never breaking character, never breaking that look. Man, Santana really stood out, but obviously the leader, man, I said, boom. Point to Jericho and Inner Circle for that promo. He hit it home run, grand slam. He killed it tonight.
I
He definitely
agree.
stood out. He stood out more than anybody, and Santana was a close second. Who are your favorites and standouts?
Oh God,
Come
I
on.
agree. I feel like I've been on Team Pinnacle this whole time, and I up to this point, I felt like Max, War Dog, and my boy Dax that they were bringing it, and I love Santana. No doubt, I like both teams a lot, but dude, tonight Inner Circle, man, like Jericho. That promo tonight from Jericho was better. I mean, to me, I loved this promo from Jericho. And he really went at like, and I think used that truth, like his true story. Kind of, he sounded like Clint Eastwood almost, like get off my yard, you know, that kind of thing. But talking about how he's been through it all, he knows respect now. I loved everything about his promo, from the Tetris reference about how it doesn't just work when I don't move out of the way for you.
Yes.
That's not how it works. Just a really brilliant promo work from Chris, where it wasn't just funny. It was smart and it hit hard. And I think MJF, you know, I thought he kind of was digging at Jericho a little bit with like, man, you look exhausted, you're bloodshot, you're bloated, you look like you're done. And Jericho came back at him in a way that I was blown away by. I could sit here and say, man, I loved that Shawn Spears and Sammy Guevara interaction. I really liked that. I thought that was intense. I love Santana and Ortiz, and you know I'm a tag team fanatic. For those of you guys out there who are maybe new to the Dynamite Download, I am such a tag team slappy. I've taken a lot of pride in being an advocate for that division and getting SPD to kind of buy into FTR, who I believe is every bit as good as they say. But if you're Santana and Ortiz and you're staring at them across the ring, and you have guys who have week after week after week basically made their career off of saying we're the best tag team in the world and not really wavering in that at all. If you're Santana or Ortiz, it doesn't matter like what other personal stuff happens, just on a professional level, hearing people talk like that week after week in something that you give your life to. I don't know, man. I feel like there's going to be a lot of people in this match coming up. No wonder, SPD, you saw Santana mean mugging him. There's going to be a lot of people in this match who are looking to prove something. But that said, the GOAT proved tonight that he still is the best promo in the business, man. The dude is when he's on his A game, that was fantastic, Bonds.
Yeah, who stood up for you, Bonds?
You can't beat Chris Jericho here tonight. This was better than his other promo in this. I think it was smoother. It felt more on point. I think it's more impactful when he's staring Max in the face and saying this stuff to him. It's more impactful. He doesn't have to resort to being funny. He can be honest and brutal and just tell him the truth.
Yep.
But I do want to give some love to Santana Ortiz and Dax and Cash as well. I mean, Dax calling out their children was like, you better kiss your kids goodnight and say daddy's not coming home. Like, that was a badass line. Like, oh man, like they're really digging in. This is going to be a match to end their careers. Like, they're really selling it. And I think that's awesome because it's going to be a match that's going to take time off their careers. This is a really brutal,
it's gonna be
long pay-per-view-esque main event match. And they're really selling it like that.
You're right.
So I cannot wait, man. I cannot wait. This is I'm just
the whole show now. I mean, though, SPD, I know it's a little bit of a bummer to you because you feel like, man, this could have been a 2-hour match and it would have been like the first of its kind ever.
Wow.
But when you look at the matches that were added to this show, I do feel like Blood and Guts needs the whole second hour of Dynamite. That would be how I think that's how it needs to go. But
sure.
The other matches that make the cut, it's going to be a great show as always. I mean, that's why I felt like I was talking to Bonds tonight. I was like, dude, there's no way we can do an Elite or Delete right now. Like, the AEW is hitting it on all cylinders week after week after week after week, man. Like, and this is another example of a feud that has emerged
Yeah.
Every segment that they do together, and there are some weeks where they do 3 segments on a show. Every segment they do together is absolute fire, bro. Blood and Guts is going to be nuts, man. I cannot wait for that.
I know. And this match we're talking, the Mox Eddie versus Kenny Omega, finally getting back in the ring with Nakazawa. I could totally see Kenny Omega taking his first loss. And it just makes sense because, obviously he wouldn't take the pin, but this feud is becoming more and more interesting. I heard you guys talking about, the limousine segment and all that, and that was pretty funny. But
nuts to butts, baby.
Oh gosh, I love just them just eating it up, and them going all in on the ridiculousness stuff and that. But I'm excited for the full card. We can break. I got some graphics for the card for next week. We can touch on it briefly after the fact. But a match I was excited about was seeing Penelope Ford back in the ring. Because I think we all can agree, like she's kind of like a wild card in the women's division. Not necessarily gets a lot of screen time, and some of her in-ring work really has been some great stuff. And tonight, Statlander stood tall by far. Her strength, outshined everything. I think that. I don't know if Penelope Ford really got too much of her go-to moves. I felt like maybe there was a little bit of ring rust. It didn't seem as smooth as a match I've seen her in past. But it was good to see. I hate giving the women's matches deletes just because, usually they're ones. But if we were doing the grades, this one didn't really hit that much for me. I was kind of expecting more. I was watching the clock. 2 minutes in, then boom, right picture in picture. Then it was a 3-minute commercial break. Then they had another 4-ish minutes. And so I was a little bummed about the instant picture in picture again. But
that was unfortunate.
It's nice to see Statlander keep getting this push. So Bonds, what do you think of the match?
I mean, I agree, man. I think the picture in picture was really unfortunate and not necessary. They just had a commercial before the segment before that. There's no need for it. Just let them have the match. It was not a long match. Plus, you lose out on the end of the picture in picture anyway. Almost every time you lose like a minute or two of the match. So it's like, but I think overall it was a fine performance from both sides. I think that Statlander is just different level and they're pushing her that way. I think that's kind of why, like where you say Ford really didn't get much offense in. I think that was because. That's by design. I think that they're really pushing Statlander as his top babyface. That's really strong and able to go at a different level and different pace. And I think that she looked really good tonight. Again, I think it's long term. They're seeing like, hey, this division lacks faces, and we need to build.
I agree.
Yeah, I think Bonds froze.
Yeah, I agree.
But I think it does lack like really strong faces, and this will be good down the line.
Look at him.
He's like,
lacks foot.
Again, but
no, man, I agree. Like I was hoping when I got my water, you guys would have been done talking about this match. Just kidding.
So we could switch in.
No, honestly, I'm just joking. I was just kidding a little bit, but I mean, the main reason why I'm kidding is because like even if like I was the biggest fan of this match, like I'd say a good 60% of it was during commercials. I don't know. It just was like, I don't know. It was hard to get into. But I will say, if you're gonna have picture in picture and you're gonna have commercials, this was the match, unfortunately, that was gonna get that. I mean, it was just they jammed this show packed with so much content. This match was not about hey, take that off. I'm not gonna say that about the factory. I like the factory.
What are you doing, SPD?
This match, I'll just say real quick, this match felt like before it even happened, it was just going to be a squash, right? This was not about Penelope Ford and Chris Statlander going back and forth for a number one contender match. This was about Statlander beating the crap out of Penelope Ford again and emphatically staking claim to her spot in the women's division rankings and in the big picture of the show. Penelope Ford, to her credit, looks like $1 million every time she's on screen. I saw somebody comparing her to AEW's Lana. I think unfortunately she's kind of she's kind of booked a little bit that way. I do think that Penelope has potential in the ring, Bonds, but I don't see any time down the road, anytime soon, her really becoming a player in AEW. I think that Statlander is quickly emerging as that, and I'd love to see Statlander versus Jade one day. That's a matchup I really want to see happen.
Absolutely. We talked about that, on our Sunday Social or Friday Night Flights and Fights about Statlander Jade would be.
Let's move on.
This was an awesome. We are very high on a lot of these guys.
I'm becoming such a freaking fan of the Factory, dude. Like, I am becoming.
I love the entrance.
QT Marshall's personal defense on Twitter. I've got the retweet from my guy QT earlier this week. QT and I are on the same wavelength. I think that the dude is absolutely on point right now. I'm loving what they're doing with the Factory. I love his style. Driving in with I love it, baby. I love that. I love this track jacket tonight. The track jacket looked fantastic.
Well, the entrance was great.
That entrance was awesome.
So many. Oh, speaking of, they had so many elaborate entrances tonight. The Inner Circle. We forgot to talk about the biker gang that came out. It was so much better. Everything about the Inner Circle was a home run. But we'll talk about the Factory. Like taking that bus, the graphics on the bus were awesome. Obviously, you didn't expect the Factory to take over, and what happened after made so much sense. But wow, this was, Camarado. We were high on him when we saw him versus Moxley kind of out of the blue. We were like, this is a star. This is a star. And he is developing into a star. The Factory's clan, obviously, with Gogo and Murado, are just so fun to watch. These people who are essentially nothing now turning into these total, mainstream badasses. It's great, man. Bonds, what did you think of this whole segment? And then the return of, Mr. Rhodes himself.
What an epic return that was. He oh man, was that sweet.
The segment overall was just great. Again, the match itself was really entertaining. We got to see more of Anthony Ogogo's fist win match, which is pretty cool. And then
all
obviously
those Twitter people are gonna cry.
Oh, no, he only punched him once.
Yeah,
but
I'm not going to sit there and take a punch.
I don't. Yeah. Take a punch from Anthony, Olympic boxer.
Do it.
Tell me, yeah. then go brag on Twitter how it's a crappy finish. Exactly.
Right. But we got to see the end bit with Cody and QT Marshall, the top of the bus, and that was so awesome. That whole segment was just great. I was wondering when Cody was going to come back because obviously that betrayal was pretty big, man. He had to take a couple weeks off, get himself right in the head, But then coming back out of that bus and being like, hey, QT Marshall, it's your time to shine, buddy, on top of the bus, and you're going to be done. And it was pretty awesome. Overall, man, these guys are just doing great stuff. Again, Camarado looks great again tonight. He looks like a monster.
He looks terrifying. He looks like a caveman. Yeah. He's
being built like a monster, and that's how he should be. He's just physically, he's not even the tallest guy in the world, but he's wide, very wide, and looks like a monster, and he's an athlete. So the stuff he can do in the ring, they know what they have in him. Mm-hmm. Again, with a go-go as well, when you're getting, one punch in and just beating people like that, like Billy Gunn, man, I feel so bad for Billy Gunn. He's gonna have to retire.
Well, if you think about it, it's a gut punch, right? It's a gut punch. It's an area where you have no real you're it's right in a vulnerable spot of your body, right? I mean, it makes sense. I love Brock Lesnar, a Mount Rushmore type of guy, man. But I mean, think about what ended his MMA career, so it happens. You have a weak spot and you go for it. I love what the Factory's doing. I think that those guys are absolutely on point. I love what QT's game is like on social. I love how he's leaning into the heel work. You can tell he's loving it. He was such an antagonistic jerk tonight throughout this match, just messing with and toying with Billy Gunn and Dustin. I loved what they were doing. His interactions with Shotty Lee were really fun too. That student teacher vibe, and you can tell QT still is a little chip on his shoulder for Shotty Lee never thanking him. I will say on the good guys side. Shotty looks a little more built. He looks a little bit more ready to kind of go on another level of his career. I felt like in this match he showed well. Anytime we get to see Dustin Rhodes and Billy Gunn together, it was really cool as two veterans who we all respect. It can still go in the ring, have great cardio at their age. It's unbelievable. And both look like real powerhouses, man, especially when you put them in this match. Like, I mean, you saw like Billy Gunn's not much smaller than Nick Camarata. I mean, you look at them, like, it's wild to see, man. So great match as far as presenting those guys as equals. It progressed the story really, really well. And at first, you know, the wrestling fan in me, I was a little like, man, Cody's epic return, and he puts a figure 4 on top of the bus. Like, doing a submission onto a bus doesn't add any impact to it. So I was like, if you would have done like a DDT or like a power bomb, something crazy like that. But then I was like, no, he made Cutie tap out on top of this massive bus dedicated to himself in front of all these people. Like, that was, then he gets up and he poses. Like, it was like the most triumphant, like, movie type of return that you could ever imagine. Like, he made him beg for mercy, stand up, shirt off, gloating to the world out of his Nightmare Family bus. It was absolutely a thing of beauty. Cody looked like $1 million at the end of the segment. I can't wait for Cody and Cutie to go head to head. I will be firmly on Team Cutie during that one. I'm really loving where they're going with his character. Yeah, man. I love it. I love that, like, that guy who's always the thorn in your side. I think that he could play that really well for Cody. He can just be one of those guys who's annoying and won't go away. And there's something endearing about that. And QT, for anybody who's following him on social, he can do annoying really well. He's doing a very nice job at trolling fans and being a jerk. It's working out really great.
Well, you know who's annoying to some is Darby Allin's title run, you know, and so
not anymore, bro.
I'm going, you know, such back and forth. You know, I do have those moments where I'm very annoyed with his run. I mean, he's main evented 3 Dynamites in a row. Pretty impressive stuff. And this was another good matchup, I think, even though obviously Preston Vance 10 is clearly the beast, the Goliath versus his David. And I don't know, man. I'm still not on the Darby Allin title reign train.
Wow.
Personally.
Even after tonight?
Even after tonight.
Wow.
I'm really not.
You're alone on this train, brother.
Wow,
I jumped off.
You're on the train. Now you're conducting it?
I'm off, bro. I'm off. You're solo. You're the caboose has disconnected, and I'm out.
I was never connected on the Darby Allin TNT title train.
Oh, I thought you were talking about being the
I'm
hater
a Darby Allin fan, and I liked his, you know, he's done some awesome stuff in the ring, but his title reign, he still hasn't won me over yet. He's working on it. 3 main events in a row. Obviously, that's a, you know, big feather in the cap for sure. Thank you, Sharonica. I'm not on the train, and you're on the train. You're conducting it. Bonds, are you sitting shotgun next to Crayfish, the conductor? Crayfish, the conductor.
I'll as the conductor. Let me hear me out. Right, like I was with you, SPD. I agree that there's definitely a formula to a Darby Allin match that does wear thin. But when I look at that cinematic match that he had, right? And then you see that when I start to really think about, yeah, I agree. Like, man, some of these matches are like, they follow this formula. It gets old. I agree with you guys on that. But you start to see the match against John Silver was a good match. The match against Scorpio Sky. This match against Scorpio Sky was a good match. The match against, of all people, Joey Janela was a good match. Like, the match against Jungle Boy was a freaking awesome match. This match against 10, dude, this match was really freaking good, guys. Like, really good. 10, that ending, I felt was absolutely executed without flaw. Trying to lock in that full Nelson, getting it locked in, Darby almost getting out and then going limp for a minute, and then finally finding a way to reverse it. 10 never letting go of the hold. It was an awesome, awesome battle between these two, and I felt like it brought out the best in Darby. And again, it showcased 10 in a light that I know you guys, we've been critics of, oh man, if everybody looks good against Darby, then nobody looks good. I get it. But when you look at a guy like 10 get an opportunity for a TNT title and in a main event spot and hit a home run like he did, that's something that could change the trajectory of a dude's career. And I have to step back and say props to Darby for allowing his championship run to be about more than just himself. Like, there have been a lot of guys who have, I feel like, gotten huge opportunities. I mean, dude, SPD, when did you think that I would ever – there were weeks when I was saying, man, that Darby Allin versus Joey Janela match was really good. When did you ever picture Crayfish being like a vocal – so I had vocal advocate for the bad boy, but
Never.
Darby turned me into one. And I think that, like, there's something to be said for when we look back on this championship reign, some of the matches that have emerged out of it and some of the careers that might get altered a little bit because of it. I can respect that. And yes, I recognize that there could be a different type of TNT champion that I would probably enjoy more. Like, and if MJF had the title, for example, like, I love that cocky, arrogant heel like Kenny, right? I love that type of vibe right now, right? I would love if Lance Archer got that shot. I think that man has paid his dues. I think that Lance Archer has traveled. You know, Jericho's promo was all about traveling the world, paying your dues. Lance Archer has paved a path for himself where he has deserved a title run in North America for a while. Miro, after his segment tonight with Kip Sabian, I would be more than happy to see Miro with the title. Yeah. Don't get me wrong. There are lots of people in the landscape of AEW that I'd love to see with that belt. But I can respect and tip my cap to Darby for what this title run has done for the careers of other people. Now, Bonds, since I was the conductor, how do you feel about the Darby Express now, baby? Are you coming along with me or what, baby? Is the column gonna be saying, "What a champ! What a champ"? Tell me about it.
Well, I don't know if I'm getting on the train, but I'm definitely gonna wave at it.
Darby.
I'm gonna give it a wave. I'm gonna say, "Hey, train, hi, how you doing?" I think he did 2 really good title defenses in a row. That's where I'll go with it. I need to see it consistent because we've been frustrated with him for a while. This isn't new. It's been a consistent frustration with his title reign, and I think the last 2 matches, though, we're seeing an evolution in his ring style. He's getting way more aggressive. He's doing like almost heel stuff. Like to Vance tonight, he ripped his mask open, he gouged his eye, he bit his finger. Like he did some stuff tonight where it's like, oh man, like he wants, no matter what he does, he wants to win that title. He wants to keep that title. Like that's his goal. And he's scratching and clawing at it. And I think that's where it's really interesting is you're seeing a guy who's desperate out of necessity. And that's really fun to watch, especially when he's not getting beaten up for 90% of the match. So for the last 2 matches, when it's been against guys that aren't way bigger than him, that are just going to beat him the whole time, it works and it's really entertaining. And I just don't want to get caught in that trap of, okay, like he had a couple really good matches. Is it going to go back to that old formula? I want it to continue to evolve. I want him to have a match against somebody that's bigger than him, like considerably, where he's able to do that stuff, the eye gouging and the heel tactics almost, but as a babyface because he has to do it. It's not because he's a bad guy. It's not because
like
he's
John
a jerk.
Moxley, like John Moxley.
Right. It's like John Moxley, where John Moxley did that stuff. And it's like that anti-hero thing where I'm the champ. I need to continue to be the champ. And if I do it, I know I'm physically limited. So I have to go in there and do this stuff. And that's where I'll say, hey, like this is starting to get me back a little bit. Because if he continues to do this stuff and continues to build this way, then I'm all for him as a champion because it works like this. Again, if it goes back to that 90-10 offense defense stuff, then I'm going to be like, okay, this was just a couple matches against smaller guys in a row. But if it continues to build this way, I'm on board. And I think that it's going to work and it'll continue to build him up as a credible wrestler as he gets older. He's only 27, right? Like he's a young guy too. So again, like this guy's got a long career and they have to think about that long term. And this is what they have to do when they're building him.
I think that's fair. So you sound like again, SPD, I'm gonna toss it to you, my friend, because I saw you nodding along with some of my reasonings, but I know that you're still firmly ready. You're putting your feet firmly planted on the ground. You're not jumping on the train. So
I'm taking the plane.
post post match antics really were a fascinating development for us here at AEW Dynamite Download, because it brought in a lot of potential title challengers to the picture. Obviously, Scorpio Sky already had his shot, bitter about what happened, but all ego Ethan Page, he's emerging as somebody who I'm kind of feeling like this dude might have the combination of it factors that could come together where he can really be on to something here, dude. He looks like and as I was on Twitter, I was like, dude, I am so ready for Lance Archer just to take Ethan Page by his pink polo shirt and launch that sumbitch into the sky, dude. I just want him to put a beating on him so bad. So I think that they're on to something with the kind of preppy scumbag heel of Ethan Page with Scorpio Sky.
Yeah.
And I love Lance Archer as this like chaotic neutral. He's not a face. He's not a heel. He's just everybody dies, my friend. And if you're like, he just wants there to always kind of be like where there is injustice, Lance Archer will come and wreck whoever is doing, you know what I mean? Like, I love him getting involved in this and scaring off Ethan Page and Scorpio Sky. I loved the post-match stuff. SPD, if you were like the way reacting to that post-match, do you see Lance Archer emerging as the guy who dethrones Darby Allin? Or do you see maybe, like I'm seeing, maybe Ethan Page?
I mean, the more you're talking to it, obviously, I think it would be a more fun story to follow if Page finagled a victory out and then Archer just squishes Page to take the title versus Archer taking it from Darby. You know, I'd rather see Archer take it from someone you want to absolutely destroy versus having Archer take it from Darby, who, you know, both are essentially big favorites on the AEW fan base. So Archer as the champ after he beats either Sky or Page would be, I think, a much more bigger pop of a run versus taking that from Darby. So I would see that. You know,
I think that I really think Ethan Page. That's what I was saying. I think that Ethan Page
is going to finagle one out. He's going to sneak one out.
Right, he'll sneak one out, and then he'll be that dirtbag heel that you want Archer to smash, right? Like you pointed out, dude, you're absolutely right. Putting Lance Archer against Darby Allin, that's not a, like, we love both guys. We don't, I mean, well, not you don't love both guys, but the AEW fan base loves both guys. And I think that could be putting Lance Archer in a bad spot. If you put him against a guy like Ethan Page, you know everyone's going to be behind the Murder Hawk.
Yeah, for sure.
He'll be like the sacrificial lamb almost to Murder
Yes,
Hawk's reign.
and what a perfect like visual that would be. Can you imagine Ethan Page trying to get Archer up for the Eagle's Edge, and then Lance reversing it and dropping him on? Oh man, I would love it. I would love it.
So that being said, you know, of an awesome episode of Dynamite as expected. Who, you know, I don't have the graphics and we didn't talk about this because I was working, but who is your top performer of the night? Yeah, if you want me to go first, I'd be more than happy to. You know,
please.
Well, it's fitting because I missed the segment. You know, the Machine, Brian Cage, is my top performer because he hasn't been in the ring a lot, and we are very high on Cage's stuff, and he put down the number one contender in a convincing fashion. And the announcers, and I heard you guys talk about upset. It's not an upset to me because I guess if you're looking at rankings, but Cage is a champ, man. He is a world champion wrestler, and he is every bit of capable of being the top guy anywhere with the stuff he does. He's an overall wrestler that can do it all. With someone that big and muscular to throw kicks and flips and control.
A tightrope moonsault.
He says it.
The Lance Archers.
Who better?
I know.
And I'm going to mirror that, SPD, because my top pick is also Lance, or I was also Brian Cage. Sorry. You gave me that. You were talking about Arch earlier, so I got that in my
Yeah,
head. But Brian
I
Cage
was-
is top performer. He was awesome tonight. It was a reminder of why he's a top guy. He hasn't been presented like that recently, unfortunately, and we all know what he is. We've watched him in Impact, and we've seen how good he is in Impact. We watched him with Team Taz, but Brian Cage is a top tier performer, and tonight he looked just dominant against the number one contender. That's what made this match so crazy. It was against Hangman Page, who's been presented as this. I think he was on a 9-match win streak or something like that.
All of 2021, he's been undefeated.
Yeah, he's been awesome. So he lost his first match of the year against somebody that's been kind of booked, unfortunately, recently, who's been in this middling stable. And Cage just looked dominant. And it was by himself. He went out there. He didn't have interference during the match. He went after the beginning when he knocked out Hangman. He went in there and just decimated the guy. He had, like I said, I think Hangman had like 2 times where he got offense in on Cage the entire time. And it was not, it just was great. And again, he's a powerhouse. He's built different. It's not like that. He's just a strong muscle guy. He's a good wrestler. He's just able to dominate that most people wish they could dream to do that. There's only 2 guys on the roster that can do that. And he's, it's him and Lance. Those are the only 2 guys that can do that.
And I was thinking Lance, like after that segment, I'm thinking, oh man, both those guys are big men who are freak athletes.
Yeah.
And I think that like that's something to be like JR always talks about, man. They don't grow them on trees. They don't come around all that often. And I think it's not a coincidence that we all unanimously have Brian Cage as our top performer tonight. I thought that match was huge for him. Really genuinely surprising given where Team Taz was kind of where they were at. But not surprising from like we talk about from an in-ring talent perspective. Brian Cage is the machine. That guy is the real deal. That guy can bring it. And who better? That guy is legit, man. And I honestly am happy to see it because I'm a fan of his, man. I like what he can do. And I think that like as long as he's around, he's gonna be an impact player on the scene of the company he's in. So I love what he did. That made waves in the landscape of AEW leaving this show. I mean, everybody's gonna be buzzing about the Inner Circle, and that's why I almost thought Jericho give it, but I gotta give it to Brian Cage just because of what a huge win that was, beating the number one contender. I mean, you have to give credit where credit is due. Unanimous decision by the Dukes of Dynamite. Brian Cage, the Machine, Swolverine. What
That's
other?
Right.
He's got all. He is the unanimous performer of another awesome episode of AEW.
I gotta make a graphic because he's been good to Dynamite Download too, interacting with us. He knows we're big fans and supporters of him, so we're gonna make a unanimous one for that for sure. Now, speaking, we'll just touch base on. I want to ask you guys as we wrap things up for our episode 32. Thank you so much, everyone, for joining us.
Yeah, great interaction.
It is a pay-per-view worthy card that literally we're gonna be counting down the week, days, minutes, hours. For this to be there. I'm gonna be on the edge of my seat. Cannot wait for it. Other than the blood and guts, what match are you looking forward to the most? Bonds. So we have the Kenny Omega match versus Moxley and Kingston. You have DMD in action, who I haven't said. You have Cody Rhodes versus QT Marshall, and you have that 4-way tag title eliminator match. And so, Bonds, what are you looking forward to the most?
Well, I wouldn't have said it before tonight, but I think Cody versus QT Marshall. I really loved how they ended that segment tonight, and it's really really entertaining. I think QT's a different heel. He's a different kind of guy, and that makes it really funny. He wears a freaking bowling shirt to the ring every night, and like he's just really entertaining. And I think he's almost like the polar opposite of Cody, which makes it fun. And I think it's going to be a good match. And again, a surprise. It could be. I think Cody's definitely going into the match as the favorite. So I'm looking at an upset alert for that as well. So I think that's the one where there's a lot of intrigue, and I'm curious to see where they go from here after this as well. Okay. It's going to be a big match.
Nice. Crayfish?
Just leave that leave that image up, baby. Just leave that image up, man. I don't even need to say anymore, man. I am QT's biggest fan right now, bro. I love what he's doing. I love the factory. I love that crew of killers he's with.
Are you eating your apple?
I will next week. I will have a fresh, shiny apple for you guys because QT is gonna put Cody down, baby.
Put on your best golf shirt.
Yeah, no, your best bowling shirt.
Bowling
Bowling
shirt.
shirt.
Better go to the bowling store and get that, or order from the 2.5 Men fan store or something like that. But no, I agree with you guys. This is one I'm looking forward to the most. I'm a huge Cody Rhodes fan, always have been, and he's elevated his game, always does. He can have a match with, Peter Avalon, and it still would be entertaining. No match to him. Or he had, so everything about him, and QT Marshall has been on an epic rise of stardom. So I'm really excited for that. But this was an awesome episode of Dynamite. I'm glad I made it. Sorry I was a few minutes late, but I can't wait to chat with you guys all week. This is always our highlight of the week. For some reason, for me, this past week, I was posting stuff on Instagram, and I was like, damn, it's already Wednesday. I gotta finish this week's post and this week's that. And so it's a lot of fun to interact with you guys. Especially, we're getting some interaction with the superstars that we love and love to watch and support. And so thank you guys for joining us tonight. Any last words, Bonds, Crayfish? Make sure you check out Bonds' article on AEW Dynamite download.com. Share it with your friends, family, and everyone. It's a great read. I know you listen to us and talk to us here live on the show and usually on Friday nights, which Crayfish has a birthday this weekend. So
birthday boy.
So we are still TBD. We're not going to have a show on Friday. I have a wedding to go to. Crayfish has a birthday weekend, so we might do maybe we'll do like a pre-show, a 2-show week, maybe like a Tuesday night pre-show.
Blood and Guts pre-show would be pretty cool, guys.
So stay tuned on our social media for that. Unfortunately, we love Friday Night Fights and Fights. It's one of our favorite events to kick off the weekend. But because of the birthday celebration and I have a wedding, my sister-in-law is getting married, that we are going to take a break. But thank you for all the support. Happy birthday to Crayfish himself. I will send a bowling shirt your way.
Thank you, sir.
So text me your size. I'll send you the most outrageous bowling shirt so you can wear it next week.
Perfect.
I'll be searching for it. But
awesome.
Thank you guys so much. And you know where to find us. And have a great rest of your week, everyone.
Hey, Sharon.